need to continuously look at this because evidence has shown us that we have continuously seen more and more adverse event, new adverse event also. If we are sitting just because, oh, I already have an assessment for my department, I will sit down, every year we just do the same, I'm okay, we are good. But actually we're wrong. We need to continuously monitor new things and continuously figure out what are the biggest challenge. One of the difficult thing, and I want to highlight this, one of the biggest skills that you must have when we do this is communication. In order to make sure that we get success, any of success with this, you need to communicate. You need to be very good in communicating with your colleagues, with your leadership, and with your team members to get the understanding and buy-in as to what they need to and why we are doing this. Because you'll be doing more and more of the assessments, more and more of the findings of the challenges that they have. So one of the key factors is learning. We talked about that already in the framework. And we have to continue to learn. That is why RCA and risk assessment has to be done. Today, many people say to me, yeah, but I'm already doing RCA and I'm already doing risk assessment. What's the difference? I'm already doing that. Why am I sitting here listening to Eric talking about things that I'm already doing? And I'll share a little bit more about what we mean by RCA and what we mean by risk assessment. You are doing good, but we require additional information in the work that we do so that you will judge, you make your judgment yourself and see whether what is needed in there. So we are going to consider additional factor in our RCA and our risk assessment, which is very important, the human factor. As I've mentioned, in our study, and we published that, 50 to 70% of the adverse event that was reported that we have gone through are from human error. 50 to 70%. Okay? So that is why we need to think about the human factor. Very important. When we work on the framework, when we work on RCA, when we work on risk assessment, we must look at the human. Not only because we think humans are bad, it's not the case. It's because report has shown we involve a lot. And number two, we also want to keep our colleagues safe. And we also want to keep the patient safe. So we have to take a deep look as to the human factor. I'm going to talk about a bit on the theory side, and I will run through fast because you can read about human factor. This is some very brief definition that you can find everywhere. It's just not about ergonomics. We want to look at the red words: human behavior, staff behavior, patient behavior, family member behavior, nurse behavior, doctor's behavior. Those are what we mean human behavior in a total approach. Not only, I will only look at the behavior of the patient. And that nurse behavior, that's all we want to look at. That doctor, we want to look at everything. Human behavior. And then with all respect, and ability is very important, the human ability. What is possible for the human because of their, for example, knowledge, their capacity, their competency, the skills. Is that particular person designed or been trained into this work or not? So we also look at that from the ability and limitation. You must know the ability of the limitation of your physician, your nursing, your allied staff, your patient, and everybody else who's offering that care support at home that is involved. This limitation and ability that they have are going to be one of the key factors to any adverse event that people create in the care regime or the care journey. So people are going to create those problems. But we need to understand why. What is it that is the ability in the human? For example, Is it correct to have a doctor and a nurse doctor especially, going on call for 36 hours? Is this correct? Who agrees? Can I see for the people at home, who agrees that it is okay for doctors to be on call for 36 hours, especially in ED, emergency department? Who agrees? No hand raised, then nobody agrees. We don't agree because we know we are human. We understand we also have human limitations. We can be tired. We will have fatigue. That impacts our judgment in the care. And we may make mistake in the care. That is an actual example, if I think about human, that you have to really, really dive into. So those are things that we talk about, an example. Of course, the other areas that everybody talk, human factor is about ergonomics. Ergonomics, yes, you sit in better chair, proper sitting, and all that. It's about ergonomics. It's one of those considerations. But I want to bring your highlight. A lot of our work today that we see, the highlight is really on the behavior, the ability, and the limitations. That's where I want you all to consider more when you think about total system safety from the human point of view. Okay? This is a definition that it was written in 1983. How many of you are already born in 1983? Most of us, some of us are, I can see in the room, but some no. Right? Human factor specialists are united by a singular perspective on the system design process. That design begins with the understanding of users' role in overall system performance. And that system exists to serve their users. System is defined as process and technology in these circumstances. So read more about this. We have more information. I will not have enough time to dive into all of my presentation because of time, but I'll really go through as much as I can. So think about this. This is the human, as I mentioned, and this is the system. See? Tools, technology, tasks, and process, right? The environment, the organization that you have. These are all what we mean and define as the system. I show you again. System exists to serve their users. This is the system. This is the users. Define yourself, define all this properly, then you can see in a more critical manner, like a little box of things. If you are able to define it like that, you will be able to find more individual specific issues within the system and within the human. And that really, really helps. That's what we call deep dive when we dive into it. Human factor engineering in healthcare, some of the goals, I won't go through this, you can read them. 3 areas where we, as an example, where we find that you can find issues and you can categorize them as well. Physical issues that we see, cognitive issues means what I can see, what goes to my brain, and then what action do I do, the cognitive issues that I feel, right? There are limitations and insight there within the cognitive of a human that I want you to think about more. Organizational issues that are contributing to human factor problem. So what are those? For example, job stress, ambiguous roles and responsibility, ineffective teamwork, as some of the example that you can think about. So if you think about when I want to dive in, what are those areas I can find? What should I be looking for? These are examples of them. Not everything, but examples of them, okay? Here are also some design principles. Once you understand where your problem is, you must have design principles. Earlier I told you, how are we going to do total system safety approach, right? This is the some of the step-by-step where you can think about. Once you already identify where the issue is, then here are, when you want a design solution, here are some examples of principles to help you think. It's not the full list, but this is an example based on categories. So it will help you design those solutions if you think like that. There are some questions and some specific principles we must satisfy when we design those solutions, right? So here are some of them. I won't go through one by one. You can take a look, okay? Built-in human factor, sorry. So the conclusion, basically the simple version is that everything that we design, everything that we think about, either we're starting a brand new hospital, never before, this is a brand new one, new process, new people, everything new. Then you better design everything new, thinking about the human, thinking about how people should do and what is good and what is bad to do. Don't copy an old program or process from another hospital. I call that copy and paste. If you copy from another place and paste, many people say, what is so difficult about designing and building a new healthcare facility for the future? Everybody tells me, I want to have a smart hospital. I copy and paste a hospital that has the highest technology in the world. Does that work? Ladies and gentlemen, I'm very sorry, it does not. If you copy and paste, you can copy the good things, but by default, you also copy the bad things. You're not solving the bad things. You are spreading the bad things, like infectious disease. You copy and paste, you are spreading those bad things, like an infectious disease. So don't copy and paste. Reference it, study it, think about it, have human in mind when you design those new things, right? HIV in technology development. So this is more on to what we think from the human factor to medical technologies that we use today. You will be challenged with more medical technologies. There will be more IT device that is going to be available in your hospital. All this integration, we never know how to manage before. We know how to use, now it's easier, I press button, the information sent. Yes, you know that. But what if I ask everybody, you know how to use it, what can go wrong? Haven't go wrong yet. But when I ask the question, do you know what can go wrong? And if that thing happened, the error happened, what will happen to both you, your patient, and the hospital? Do you know that? Everybody will look at me and some know, some don't, right? So you will have challenges. The usability of technology needs to be very good for the users to use. So you have to study those things too. And when we look at medical device, whether it's from bringing a new thing in and I want to know what's going to happen, or you're trying to investigate something that has already happened. So this is where you can think, this is a basic model. You can see out of all my slides, this drawing is very old and very traditional. I kept this from my teacher who teach me adverse event investigation. So he's already retired, he's from ACRI. He used this diagram, and I believe this diagram is still very effective, and I will show you afterwards in the case study how I use the investigation process. So when either you're designing new, you're thinking about the risk, or you're doing an investigation, this model applies. So you think about, number one, device interface when you're looking at technology. So you put the device in the middle. How can this device be used in what environment? Who should be using? What kind of accessory it should be working with? What kind of patient it should be serving? For example, what kind of alarm I should have for what kind of patient when I use this equipment? That can be one of your consideration too. Why do we need to think about that? We need to reduce alarm fatigue for the staff. That can be one thing that you want to think about, for example. I'm just using an example. On the right side is where you have to put the patient in the center. What is the process and what is happening between the patient and the user, i.e. the physician or the nurse? What about medications that we prescribe and for our patients itself, and when?